So, today's talk is called Awakening. Awakening. I read definition. I read Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder's definition of awaken. Metaphysical meaning of awaken. Becoming conscious of the things of spirit or God. So I looked up conscious. Conscious mind. The mind that makes one know of one's mental operations and states of consciousness. That phase of mind in which one is actively aware of one's thoughts. The mind through which man establishes his identity or her identity. So, here we go. The mind that makes one know of one's mental operations and states of consciousness. That phase of mind in which one is actively aware of one's thoughts. I think that's where we fall short, is we're often not actively aware of our thoughts. We're not paying attention. We just thought, I ought to be thinking this, so I'm going to go ahead and think it. Post. Actively aware. It's tough, isn't it? Oh, I'm just going to think this. Honk. Actively aware. And then a whole stream of words can come out of my mouth that I'm not going to put on video today. Actively aware of one's thoughts. And that's what we want to awaken to, where we can be actively aware of our thoughts. What we're thinking, what we're saying, what we're communicating with each other. It's somehow, and these elections are killing us. These elections are killing our spirit. Not because of the elections. The elections are just elections. It's what we're doing with them. We're pitting ourselves against each other. You know, because it seems like so many people were voting for what they're against. Not what they're for, but what they're against. We're spouting hate every chance we get. Not all of us, but a lot of us. Spouting a lot of hate. And the ones who aren't doing it politically, we're not doing it about each other. Our friends, the neighbors. Those are not awakening thoughts. Those aren't the thoughts that let me feel better about myself. And you know what? Here's the deal. If I can't find a neighbor to criticize, I'll just step on the scale. I can condemn myself to hell for that. And so what do I do to awaken? And Bob brought it up, and you brought it up, and we're all bringing it up. What do I do? What do I do instead of? And you all know what to do instead of. There's no stupid people in this room today. We know. We know to turn it over. Turn it over to God. Turn it over to love. And sometimes it's so hard, isn't it? It's so difficult. Right after this post. Now I want to know what God has to say to me. Now I want to post. Now I want to know what it is. Slam the door. Eat the candy bar. What? Now I want to know. Charge it. Now I want to know about God. Now that my feelings are good and protected, so I don't have to hurt too much when I find out. Well, really, what a fool I've been. What a fool so many of us have been. And I call it a fool. We're not stupid. We're foolish. We do very foolish things, considering what we say we want. Because I'm going to tell you something. It's not politics we want. It's not a specific president we want. It's not a specific party that we want. We want love. That's what we want. We want love. We want joy. And I'll ask all of us here, if the traditional heaven suddenly appeared, the one in storybooks, how many people would you keep out? Would you let Trump, Hillary, Obama, and the entire Bush family in?
Yes.
Would you?
Yes.
Good. But would you still argue? Or would the argument no longer matter? Yeah, here's the deal. You're letting them in, and you're still standing outside the gate. You don't get to go in. I don't get to go in. As long as I need to let them know what I think and how they did it wrong, I don't get to go in. So let's now take metaphysical heaven, which is peace, joy, love. And as long as I still need to let them know I don't get into peace, joy, and love, as long as I still would hold any of you out, I'm holding you outside with me. As long as I'm holding any of them out. As long as I have an excuse for why they are not worthy of the kingdom or why I am not worthy of the kingdom. Because a lot of times I don't even admit to myself of why I think I'm not worthy of the kingdom. I'm too busy focusing on everybody else to actually realize, oh, Shawn, it's you who doesn't get to go in. It's you who's, holding up the line into the kingdom. Big long line behind me wants to get in. And I'm arguing. I'm standing at the gate arguing, the metaphysical gate, saying, yeah, but. Because I haven't yet awakened to God. I haven't yet awakened to Spirit. I like the idea of it. I really like the idea of Spirit. I really like the idea of God. I really like the idea of love. But until I really get on board with it, listen to this. I'm going to read something here. First, I'll tell you one nice thing that happened yesterday. Now, I've decided I want to drop some weight. And again, no fat shaming here. But as I said last week, it's hard on the knees. All this weight is hard on the knees. It hurts my feelings. I'm not. I look in the mirror. I'm not ashamed. If you weren't here, I could do it naked, and I wouldn't be ashamed. It's not that kind of video. Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament comes from Matthew, chapter, I think it's 17, but it's verse 34. And so the greatest commandment shall lead you on your journey. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Let your love for God be your guiding light in all you do and all you think. Never forget your love for God and give all things to God. In this way, you will move steadily along your journey. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Oh, how many's doing it? I might believe you. I might even believe you. But I bet at lunch I could change that. One good conversation could change that. Because we, at this point, many of us still think, oh, yes, I love God. God's wonderful. It's my neighbor I don't like. And guess what's coming next? Love your neighbor as yourself, because your neighbor is yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself, because your neighbor is yourself. Arg. Arg. How often do you hear somebody say arg? I say it a lot. Arg. 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 Love your neighbor. And Spirit goes on to say, there is no greater truth than this. I like to ask this question. Which is harder, to love God or to love your neighbor? Anybody?
Love God. God.
Yeah, okay, you've played this game with me before. Yeah, it's much harder to love God. If I loved God, I'd have no problem with the neighbor. I'd have not an ounce of problem with the neighbor if I loved God. But you see, I keep wanting to learn about God more than I want to learn God. So, now listen to this next part. This comes from Matthew chapter 11. And it says, and I like this, the search for truth is not truth itself. We're clear on this. My search for what I'm looking for is not what I'm looking for. My search for love is not love itself. So the search for truth is not truth itself. So do not stop there. Many have heard the call to search and have accepted it, but then they have stopped, thinking themselves complete. You are not complete until you are truth, so do not stop at the call. It is your beginning, but it is not your end. To find the truth, you must walk until your end. Do not judge the symbols, the stuff we see. Do not look for truth there. The temptation to believe the world and its symbols is great because you want to believe the world. You want the world to be true because you want to be right about the world. This is why I ask for your faith and willingness. It is because I am asking you to turn away from what you believe is true, from what you have known until now, and from where you have put your faith before. Let the world go from your sight. Let it be but a vision of dancing symbols with no truth in them. This is what I mean when I ask you to seek only me. Let all that you knew before me go from your thoughts. It's funny, I think of the Apostle Paul, who came way after Jesus. And he was a Christian killer. That was his function, kill the Christians. Because they were different. They weren't what he was taught to appreciate. Kill them. Just kill them. They're objects anyway. Just kill them. And then he was thrown into prison. He had an awakening and realized he was them. Well, you and I are all people. We are all beings. How are we going to start loving ourselves enough to love all beings without exception? We're not talking about loving their behaviors. We're talking about loving them. It's people that we don't start throwing people away. This is a world issue. It's the whole universe issue. That we don't start throwing each other away. Television has encouraged us to throw each other away. You know, we watch a good crime drama. And people get thrown away. They get killed. Oh, good. The good ones are done. The bad guys are killed. What's on next? You know, and what's on next? And how do we kill those people? And how do we kill those? As if they're nothing. But you see, the bad guys, they have misbehaved. They have done horrible things. Who here this week has character assassinated anybody? Yeah. Yeah, sure, but what's the big deal? It's still objectification. I used to say unity has no guilt, sin, or hell. Well, no, we're down to there's no sin or hell. I have a little guilt here today. But I don't say this so that we can be guilty. We're already guilty in our mind. That's why we keep doing this stuff. We already think we're guilty. The love of God is so strong, there's no cause for guilt. There's cause for changing your mind. There's cause for changing your understanding and realizing there is no one to throw away, including myself. There is no one being to just throw away into the gutter, into the grave. There's nobody to just toss aside as if they don't mean anything. You know, there's lots of people being hurt in this world that we've never met. And so it's easy to forget they are people, that they are me. That they are me. You know, if a very larger race came along of beings and just came to Earth and started stepping on us as if we were ants. No, you can't do that to me. No, that's terrible, terrible. Well, that's what a lot of people are doing to other people. They're stepping on each other as if they are ants. And I'm starting to pay attention to this because I realize I'm missing something in my freedom. I'm missing something in my mind, in my emotions, in my body, in freedom. Last night I was so happy. I said I've been trying to drop some weight this week. And for some reason, David, for nothing that he has done, has been an irritant to me. I think it's because I trust him the most, and he's at home with me. And so last night I was able to say to him, I gotta tell you, and I knew he had to have noticed by now. I said, I know, I've been irritable, I've been a little snappy. And I said, and you've done nothing. So I can only assume I'm withdrawing from caffeine and sugar. And I apologized to him, and he said, I'm so glad you said that you're aware of it. And I am, because, I can forgive myself for having a mood. I just don't want to have to forgive myself for attacking. I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to attack him. I don't want to have to attack anybody here. I don't want to do that. And yet I find myself doing it sometimes. And so in the awakening, the very awakening to the one power, the one presence that is the universe, that is my life, it includes all beings, even the ones I'm afraid of, even the ones I disagree with, the ones I don't like, the ones who I think have hurt me, all beings. Because the stuff in this world is temporary. Our bodies are temporary. Our money is temporary. The ground we walk on is temporary. And what's the most temporary is our opinions. Our opinions are fleeting. And so, how do we, as a group, begin to join in not just stopping hurting each other, stopping killing each other's bodies, but to start loving one another? How do we as individuals and as a group start loving one another? Well, you got to stop some things, the character assassination, and then we got to stop, of course, the physical assassination. But we have to start looking for what's good. What's good in you? But you are going to have to start looking in the mirror and saying, what's good in you? Look in the mirror and say, oh, there's good here. There's good in this being called Shawn. There's good in this being called David. There's good in this being called Doug. There's good in this being called Bob, and you, all of you. There's good in these beings. There's good there. Maybe I can focus on that for a while. Why? Because I'm accountable. You see, I can't do anything to undo a lot of things that have been done on this earth for a lot of years, and recently it's just growing and growing and growing. And I don't want to be part of helping it to grow by hating, by living in fear. I don't want to be a part of the continuation of this hurting of person against person. Hurting people I've never met. Hurting people who have never met me. I don't want to be a part of that anymore. So I'm going to have to step up. And I'm going to go through another form of withdrawal. The withdrawal of gossip, criticism, and my complaining. I'm going to have to go through. It's a tremendous withdrawal. Anybody who's ever done it. I love what Edwin Gaines said, that when she went on her fast from gossip, criticism, and complaining, she found she had absolutely nothing to say for days. She had nothing to say of any interest. It changed. She found things to say, but to go through with that discomfort. Anybody here ever quit smoking? So you guys know. Anybody here ever gotten off sugar? You guys know. Any of you stayed off sugar? Couple people. Any of you fasted? I haven't finished. Any of you fasted from gossip or criticism? You know what it feels like. Any of you stayed away from it? Not entirely. 3 days?
3 days.
You made it through 3 days. Okay.
Not 3.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, since November 1st.
Oh, wonderful. And it's like, it's not about, oh, I failed. It's, oh, I had some success, so I know this can happen. When I was quitting smoking, I would go for the morning. If I go for till noon without smoking, I was a huge success. And I could do that for a few days, several days, and then I went for a day or two. I went for 3 days once. Oh, it was great. I went for 3 months once, and that was great. So I knew it was possible that one day I would put them down, and one day I did. It's horrifying how old I am. But when I realized it's been over 20 years now since I've smoked, and yet I had all those experiments prior to that. And I was very young when I started. I was 3 when I started smoking. But I was in 6th grade. And maybe 5th, I taught myself how to smoke. And it was fun. Oh gosh, it was fun. I miss it. I miss it now. I'm going to smoke right this second. Can you imagine if I stood on this stage and lit a cigarette? Wouldn't that just be a magic moment? Eat a big donut, smoke a cigarette. The point is, I have learned how to abstain through grace. And I'm going to bring up the word grace. And I don't love, we're going to finish with grace. I don't love the word grace in a lot of times there, but for the grace of God go I. As if God, if it weren't for God's willingness, I wouldn't be off this. Well, is God unwilling for some people to stop hurting themselves and willing for others to stop? No. I'll tell you what grace is. Grace is something I give to myself. Grace is what I give every time I'm willing to have a new thought. Grace in its foundation is that no one is unforgivable in God. Grace is there's no thing too awful that man has done that would exclude them from the kingdom in God's eyes. I want to be very clear here. That's what grace is. And so, it doesn't matter how much you and I hate as far as the other person goes. It doesn't matter. I can hate everybody on earth, and it doesn't matter. I can condemn them to hell in my mind. That doesn't mean they're the ones in hell. It means I'm living in a mental hell that I am willing, however unconsciously, that I am willing to maintain. And so, who will you love today? Will you love yourself today in your awakening? Will you love the one on your right and the one on your left? Will you love the one you fear the most? Will you consider having a new thought or a new idea about someone you think is awful or detestable or deplorable? Will you, I'm just going to ask this, would you go off on your Facebook page and delete every criticism you have? It'd be empty. Would you? Go on. And I don't care if you go back on and say everything you're for. That's your business. Go on and say everything you're for. But do not contribute to the ickiness of the world by this one's bad, this one did this one's hateful, this one's this is this. I'm willing, I'm going to go on this later on this afternoon. I've got a show to do first. But after that, I'm going to go on, I'm going to look through my stuff. What have I posted that is critical? What?
I'm down.
Yeah, great. What have I posted that's critical? And go for what you're for. In your awakening, play the game of what you're for. But don't think that you're going to get what you want by being against. Kenneth sang a song, One Power. One power. Not 2 powers, not 3 powers, not 4 powers. And he's about to sing us a song that is such sound advice. It is such great advice for each and every one of us, each and every day. Thank you.